And some people had pre-existing skills.
Our curiosity, and you need to leave your ego at the door.
Well, I think to use your brain.
Number one, I believe you need to have a continuous learning mindset.
I think there's a couple of, ways to look at this. One is just from being an end user, like using tools like LLMs in your daily work. And I think, there are some key skills, there where it is, you're more kind of being more a manager of an LLM that you're being, actually doing the work.
A lot of people think you need some coding, and I think that is a misconception. I do not think you need coding. The only skill, but it's not really a skill, is more like be creative as much as you can. That means AI is there to express your creativity, and it's got multiple forms. I'm not talking only on artistic side, visuals and stuff like that, or music or video, but you can create even code with AI. That means innovative ways. So to me, in the future, the really well-paid people and the people which will be successful will be those which actually have ideas. Like the creative in the sense that mixing this ahead of let AI mix in them.
An understanding of how computers work would be really good. An understanding of how models work would be really good. They're all a bit different, obviously, but having a nice understanding of probability might stand you in good stead. And then obviously the application layer, practice, and understand that garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
They were leaning on. So some had studied like art direction for 3 years, and obviously she was really good with art direction. She
Oh,
just,
brilliant!
Lean into that skill. Another guy was a music kind of producer, sound producer, and really good with VFX. And he made an awesome rap video, really leaning into that. So I do think there's this fantastic blend of that AI kind of supercharges what's already there. And, so if you're really good at editing and After Effects, man, the videos you're going to be able to make is just amazing. And for anyone who's just like coming in very young, very new, well, we all have inherent traits and inherent characteristics. Some are really good at creativity. It's the only thing I'm good at. It's the only thing I've ever been good at.
I mentioned before about priming with the AI. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a point of reference whenever we're trying to work with anything. So if you're creating an image, with my book, Midjourney Back to Basics, I have a chapter called Learning to See. And then the next one that follows is Learning to Describe. We've got to have those basic skills of learning how to communicate effectively. That's the biggest skill that you need when it comes to AI, because you're talking to a language-based system. If you can't do that well, you're going to miss the point, whether it's creating an image, explaining to video what you're trying to do, or you're talking to ChatGPT. So always the key is going to be effective communication. So that's the one everybody needs to hone up on.
I would say that a major thing that will differ you from other people, at least in the creative worlds, is how you use them, not like what skills you need to have, but what do you want to achieve by using them, meaning what's the idea behind the usage? Why are you using these tools? How are they able to help you reach what you want to reach?
You need to understand that there's a machine that's like going to be smarter than you when you ask it a question. That's not your ego that needs to get in the way. Like, I've never argued with a calculator, though I know that I could beat it in pretty much most ways apart from mathematics. Like, same thing with an AI. Like, I wouldn't argue with a machine that has our collective intelligence with it and can do things a million times faster. It just means that I get to, my intellect gets to go further up the food chain and go, actually, I don't need to do that stuff anymore. I can do a very interesting handover. And actually now with my curiosity, I can unlock even more stuff. And that curiosity, I think, is always the key.
I think that's absolutely necessary. The rate that technology is evolving is faster than it's ever been, and it's not going to slow down. Number two, I think critical thinking. You have to be able to take information, process it yourself, and look beyond what's being shown or told to you. Communication is another one I think is very important, and not just communication for talking about, where how you're labeling your data that your models are going to be used, but more so the how you prompt it as well, because you're communicating with the actual technology and tools themselves. So I think communication is going to be redefined of how we're actually taking information from one point, from a human to an AI agent, back to a human, back to multiple agents, and then back to where they implemented in social media or wherever you're consuming.
There's a misconception that you don't need anything. You can just press a button with AI and you can just start using it, which is kind of true, but not really. You still need traditional skills. Like in creative industries, you need to have an idea of color and design and composition. And if you're doing advertising, it's good to have an idea of photography and lighting and what looks good. And even basic things that we did at art school, whether it's these GCSE art, like what hands and things should look like, because the models can spit something out. And I have seen live adverts where they've got six fingers, or you think actually that's AI because the angle of the arm's not quite right. So you need to have that kind of knowledge. I think also it's good if you've got some kind of understanding of how machines work, because what AI is making creatives do, and anyone that's using it, it's like learning a new language. So you're having to learn how it speaks, how it processes things, how it understands stuff, and then you know what to tell it, and then you actually get much better results from it.
And I think a lot of these soft skills translate where you need to it's all about giving great feedback, being very concise, telling the model how you need to change things. But then when it comes to, engineering products and using AI, I think this is a very interesting question, because there's so many engineers out there, machine learning engineers and full stack web developers that, just don't know or didn't previously know about AI because it's a new thing, right? And let's say I'm hiring somebody and I'm asking them, look, I want you to use an LLM within this feature to automate this experience. I want you to parse a script, or want you to pre-populate parameters within this model. And it can be challenging to do it if you've never done it before. Yes, I mean that seems simple, like you just send some data to an API and you're going to get a response, but it's not really, right? You have to be able to engineer the prompt. You need to know how to test it, right? And there's, I think, knowing how to prototype something. I think it's it's important, because you need to usually going to use something like a playground of ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using, and just use that playground to just see if it just works in general, right? And then once you have that working in general, I think it's like a very engineering approach, then going and being fluent with a tool that's going to help you cover like a broad spectrum of cases, right? There's lots of different tools out there that can help you create some test cases and test multiple times and see what kind of response you get, to really kind of nail that prompt and nail all the parameters you need to do it. But you need to be able to tell when it's giving you the right answer.
And yeah, I can really lean into that and just craft my own kind of aesthetic and stuff. So but ironically enough, in a way, I think AI, at least in a kind of text to whatever scenario, or if it becomes imaged later, being able to express yourself in written form is actually has in an interesting way become a pre-existing need, or what do you say, parameter for making good visuals. Even if it's image gen or video gen or prompting sound effects, whatever you're doing, being able to articulate yourself concisely but also creatively in text is actually quite a skill. And a lot of people are not good with writing, and that's okay, but then you just have to practice that and learn that, because a lot of AI tools are still on the kind of text to basis. So I think that's an interesting shift that's happening, how written what do you say, writing skills is so becoming crucial.
And I think that's going to be the focus of the question. I think for any artist or designer, the method and the question of how do you do things are very, very important, because it's part of the process, and the process is a big thing about the final product, the final result that you achieve. So if you use, for instance, if you carve a wood and turn it into a chair, it's completely different than making a metal chair that you need to manufacture in a different way. So the question is about why do you use these tools, and then what do you want to achieve with because I'm kind of anticipating that the technology is going to be available to everyone without a certain specific skill set that you'll need to have in like available to you.
Like, hey, what about if we do this and that, and also another good thing is have questions. Question as much as you can, because question is the foundation of learning. So I think that is actually a good asset for a lot of people, though of course you need to assimilate, but in the same time you need to question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking ChatGPT coding questions all the time. Can it do this? Can it do that? And then I'm like, oh, maybe you can get one Python script to do the whole thing. That'd be interesting. So yeah, asking questions is very helpful. Yeah.
Or not, because none of these tools can actually tell what the expected result is. And this is, again, all goes back to understanding what's the problem. Really being able to put yourselves, in the shoes of the user or the end customer, and trying to really imagine you're in their workplace. You have that problem. You ideally, I think you should not ideally. I think right now at the minimum, you need to get some of their data that they're working with. Ask them to share a project with you, or ask them to share some actual data they're working with where they're trying to solve a problem, then use that actual real world data to then go through and try to simulate that process. And so I think this is like something that I think not many engineers know how to do. And I was fortunate enough to learn this through my product management experience. Is like, how do you interview people? How do you map out the user journey? How do you, really get a good understanding of somebody's role and job and motivations and feelings, because at the end of the day, if you understand that well, then it's really easy for you to go in and say, well, our customer will be satisfied with this response, and this is the type of prompt they're going to give the LLM. And if you don't, you're just shooting blanks, and it's really tough. And I think these types of soft skills, I think, are going to get even more important when you are, working with AI.
So I hope you liked listening to those experts. You can watch this show on YouTube and get it on your TV at home in 1920 by 1080. Ooh. And you can also like our LinkedIn page, which is AImode, and that's on the screen right now. Should be some QR codes that you can scan. All right, until next time, guys, I shall see you soon. Bye.